rake fixed. Morning everybody. So as you saw, just fixed that old rake. Good to rock and roll again. Anyway, we're down here again in the sheep yards. We're drenching again this week. So this week we've got the Dohne ewes that had the white Suffolk ram in with them, and the Weaner lambs. So they're last year's lambs, aren't they, Dad? Yep. So last year's lambs. Both these mobs are coming in for a drench. Oh yeah, and the two pets, Salvatore and Maria, that still haven't forgotten how to be pets. So we're going to drench these ewes first, and then just Dad just brought the lambs in. I'm going to let them dry off for a little bit, and then we'll drench them a bit later on in the day. Right, so we just finished drenching those 50 or so ewes. So now we're gonna have a little, well, not have a break, but leave them in there as well as the lambs, and let those lambs dry off. And while I'm doing that, while they're doing that, I'm gonna take the John Deere, grab a heap of hay for the lambs and the other mob of ewes, and feed all that out. And I think Dad's going into town to do some shopping real quick. So I'll do that, and then hopefully once that's done, we should be able to, finish drenching, and then that'll be all done and dusted. Rightio, just finished feeding out the hay to those 2 empty paddocks where the sheep are going to go back to. I just thought, just because it's a nice enough day and there's not much wind, I'll be quick because the battery's about to go flat on the GoPro. Have a look at the crop. I won't go to the other one because the battery will die, no doubt. This is the first crop of oats we put in. The other crop of barley is up. It doesn't look amazing from what I've seen, but I haven't been up close. I'll go have a look later on maybe. But yeah, as you can see, it's all up. This area here is always pretty wet. We've had a pretty wet few weeks. That's not helping the situation. But yeah, it's all up and it looks like from just this outside area where I'm standing, it's all pretty even. So hopefully we don't get too much rain. It's causing dramas already with the tracks again boggy and we're having trouble getting sheep in, etc, etc. Yeah, we just have a good year. I reckon it'll probably be a good crop. The other paddock of barley looks about the same. It actually might look a little bit better, but that might be just because the paddock's a little bit cleaner, I think. But yeah, the oh, not barley, sorry, oats and oats up there. Both oat paddocks look good. They're all shooting and they're up. The barley, which is over there, other side of this paddock up at the top, it's also up, but I haven't had a good look at it. I have seen from the outer edges of the paddock where I had to go around twice just to get rid of the excess barley I had. Looks good. The middle though looks a bit thinner, and that'll be because of the germination of that barley seed we put in not being very good because it sat in the silo for a few years and some of it's probably just rotted. But if I get a chance either this week or the next, we'll go out and have a proper look at it, and we'll have a good look and see what it's actually like. Alright, we're back at the sheep yards now. It's been an hour or so, maybe 2, I don't know. What? Yeah, so now we're gonna drench these last year's lambs. So we'll bring them through and yeah, give them a drench as well, and then yeah, run them all back out to their paddocks, the 2 mobs. Alright, well Dad's gonna leave him in here overnight, and I guess he'll do it tomorrow. Alright, so me and Dad has been talking for a few minutes now about drenching and stuff. So I'm just gonna get him to give a bit of an explanation in a roundabout sort of way about what he would look if we had one. Basically the scenario I gave him is if you had one mob of sheep, being this mob right here, and they were out the back, what he would be looking for to say that it's time to drench. These ones are a bit crappy right now because it's been pretty wet and we haven't been able to get them in, but if it wasn't so wet and we were able to bring them in, yeah, what that would be looking for. So I'll give yous over to him and he can give you a bit of an explanation.
G'day viewers. Like I tell everyone, I only make it up as I go along. But anyway, like Cam said, if this was the only mob of sheep we had, what I'd have been looking for about a month ago is they're on pretty short tucker in the paddock they're in. Probably if Cam pans his GoPro into that little paddock there, it's probably even a bit shorter than that. And of course, when they eat, their droppings go on the ground, and if they contain worms, the worms get around and they end up sort of going back through their system because they're eating close to the ground. Now, if there's no worm problem, it's not a real drama. They hold their body weight and they look healthy, and they don't get dirty like some of these ones have. But when they have worm infestation in them, they don't tend to hold nutrients in their body like they should do, and it just goes in one end and pretty much straight out the other. And when they're really bad, it's nearly like water. It's like a human that's got a gut problem. and they're always on the toilet. You know what that happens. So I would have drenched these about a month ago by rights, but it's only really fined up the last week, and we've been able to get them in. So we'll give them a drench now, and then we'll give them another drench another couple of months or so when we bring them in to crutch them, and because we'll have to let the wool, because they were shorn late, we'll have to let the wool grow a bit now to get the dag off the skin, so it's a bit easier to peel off. So yeah, there's a little bit in it to do, but there's not really, if that makes any sense. So that's about it. That's what I do. It's probably wrong in a lot of people's eyes, but who cares?
Yeah, we're doing the best with what we got, but what Dad was saying with the wool having to grow a bit longer, because if it's too short, you were saying before, and you try to crutch them, you can like peel their skin off. If it's
it makes it harder. I know the shearers have very thin combs and cutters, which sort of helps get under the skin, but then it can be a bit of drama because you can end up cutting their legs and all that sort of garb. So
yeah, so
you're better off to try and let it come off the skin a little bit, so the comb and cutter can get between the skin and the dag. It's a bit easier, even though when you got dag, it is a hard job to do.
yeah, so that's why we'll have to leave them a little bit longer before we crutch them. And for those who don't know, dags is crap that's hanging around their rear end and stuck in the wool. So we'll yeah, we'll bring these lambs in now and drench them. Here, Molly. Here, Molly.
Come over here.
Did you change the adjustment in the gun? What's that one that was in there?
Oh, weather, the fry blown that didn't go to market. Come on. Yeah.
Rightio, we're just looking at one of the Weaner lamb's rear ends here. So you can see the sort of daggy wool on the back of his legs and how it's quite short. Like the wool's not very long, it's only, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or something like that. So if you were trying to crutch that, you might like get the skin because you're trying to peel it off so close to the skin. Whereas if you let it get a little bit longer, then you've got wool between the dag and the skin, and then it'll make it a little bit easier to cut it off and without doing any damage to the legs of the lamb. finished drenching those Weaner lambs, so we're going to leave them sit in the yards overnight, which means they'll sort of absorb the drench and crap out any worms that they have in their guts. And then we'll run them back out to the paddocks tomorrow. So yeah, I'll come back out tomorrow and I will see you bright and early in the morning. Morning everybody. So we're back again. Dad's run out the lambs to their paddock this morning. We've still got to run out these 50 Dohne ewes to their paddock. But first we need to go out and move the main mob, because they're going to go into the paddock where these ones were from, where I just put hay yesterday, and then we'll put these ones where the other mob was. So we're going to go out there, move that first mob, and then come back and round these ones up and get them out there too. Okay, so we just moved, well, Dad mainly did, I just come down here and opened the gate. The main mob is now in this paddock here that I put hay in yesterday. But what we're looking at behind me is the paddock of barley that I put in. So as you can see, it's all up. It's sort of hard to get a good idea of how, what it sort of looks like, because at this point of the paddock, it's got this like real tight turnaround. And I went through here multiple times to just get all the headlands and make sure everything got sowed. So if you can see those pile of rocks up there in the distance, on the right side of those is probably where I finished up on the second pass. Because I had to run all the grain out because I had a heap left over, I had to start doing more laps again. So where the end of those rocks are is where I've stopped. So everything up until then has been gone over twice. So it looks really thick, it's a really good crop. But then out past that I can sort of see it's a bit thinner. But yeah, it's all up. We upped the rate quite a lot. Because obviously, if you guys will remember, the grain wasn't that flash and a lot of it probably wasn't going to grow. But it seems to be up. It looks a bit thinner in some spots where I've only gone over it once, but it is what it is. At least it's growing. Hopefully we don't get too much rain, because some of it there looks a little bit yellowed. And yeah, it is drenched. I'm on the two-wheeler and I am risking it for the biscuit, sliding around in these paddocks. So hopefully that turns out good. So they're out there now, we'll move on to other things. Rightio, so we are currently out in the furthermost, one of the furthermost paddocks. Paddock that we're in, we just generally call it the Rocky paddock. And that's just because there's so many rocks in here. It doesn't get used for anything other than having sheep in here. You can't really get a tractor in here. It's just too rough, and as you can see, it's pretty, the grass is pretty high, so you can't see many of the rocks. It was a challenge just getting to this point with the motorbikes. Anyway, so behind this stone wall that's our next door neighbour. So this is as far as back as the farm comes. And what we're out here for is we want to put a fence in along this stone wall, because the sheep can jump it. So there's already end assemblies set up from a few years back, and we just need a yeah, Dad just said there's some kangaroos way down there. You probably won't be able to see them. They're just jumping up across the old bit of a creek down there, jumping across way in the background. Yeah, so anyway, we now need to measure out how long the fence will be, basically, so Dad can get a rough idea for how many posts and how much wire and stuff we need, and then we can put a fence in here and use this paddock again, because it's pretty good for for lambing, isn't it? Because there's a lot of cover. Yeah, so when they're lambing, there's a lot of grass cover, sort of protects the young lambs a bit. So anyway, seeing as we're out here, brief history lesson on the stone wall. So basically, our farm was a part of a massive sheep station way back in the day. So around mid 1800s, I think, was when it was all sort of put together. And this is one of the stone walls that was built as a part of the massive sheep station. So in this area, there's a lot of these like stone walls sort of go around on some of the farms in the area. This is the only one on our farm that just sort of splits between us and our neighbour on this back boundary. Basically, it was built in roughly 1880 to 1890 by a father and son team, and yeah, they did all this by themselves pretty much. So yeah, a lot of work obviously involved. So yeah, stuff that for a joke. Yeah, so that's basically what this stone wall is all about. It's been here for like over close to 150 years, so a bit of history about it. So there you go. So now we're going to try and put up our own fence next to it, just so the sheep can't jump over it. Yeah, so Dad's currently walking out with the tape measure, and we'll get a measurement for wherever he runs out of tape, and I'll walk down and we'll go again. But here's just a closer look at the stone wall, seeing as we're up here not doing a lot. So it's on a bit of a lean. I guess it's sort of fallen over the years, but you can see like how well it's pieced together. Like even like the really small stones, like the effort they've sort of gone to chock it all together. Like, you know, they haven't sort of piled stones on top of each other. They've like done a pretty good job to make an actual fence. And like some areas, like some of the bigger rocks have fallen over because kangaroos jump and hit it, or sheep have clambered over, or for whatever reason. But you know, to last 150 years on a farm and still basically serve the purpose that it was designed for, that's pretty good going, I think. And yeah, and to think that two guys just did this, like that would have taken them surely years to do, especially picking the rocks, getting them here, then actually stacking them and sorting them. Must have taken them forever to do. And they did, there's like kilometers, like tens of kilometers around the area. I don't know if there's 100 kilometers worth or not, probably not quite that much, but there's lots. So yeah, it's pretty good job by them. We just walked up a bit further. Dad ran out of tape, so I've come up to his mark he's made with this little rock. You can see the sort of the back here dips away into, it's more of a drain, it's not really a creek. It's sort of been dammed by the guy who owns next door, but you can see sort of on the edge of the dam there, all those rocks are, all the rocks down the bottom there. That's pretty much how rocky this whole area is. He's got a lot worse, more of a problem than us. You can see there's big piles of rocks out there. He's got a loader out there, he digs them out. But yeah, this paddock is like, it's really hard to tell just because how much grass is in here, but it's really rocky. Yeah. Yeah, we've just ran out of tape again. But yeah, this is why we don't really do much with this paddock. It's really only good for sheep because they can come in here and get out of the wind, and there's a bit of cover just from the grass. You want me to come down there? But yeah, we haven't used it for maybe, we haven't used it since last year, midway through last year. We had some weaner lambs in here, I think, and they jumped the fence and got in with old mate next door's sheep. We had to go around there and get them, a bit of a pain in the ass. So we're like, all right, time to put a fence up along here so we can use it and not have to worry about sheep escaping. Right, so we've come down to a corner point, well, sort of a corner point. The stone wall sort of goes off like that, and it turns into a wire fence. I just asked Dad why, and he said he wasn't quite sure. But basically, for whatever reason, I'm standing on the top of the old stone wall. It's been knocked over. You can see the remnants, the line of knocked over stones. It must have been something to do with the boundaries, the way they have it laid out or something, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it sort of comes down there, turns into wire fence, then heads all the way up there, and then it looks like it turns back into stone. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why it's like this, but it is. Alright, measuring again. We've just come up to the other side of this wire fence. Behind the camera is where the stone wall begins again. Across the creek down the bottom there, more or less just a ditch, no actual water in it, just a little bit wet. It doesn't really flow with anything. That's just the lowest point of the area. yeah, so forgot to say it before. When because the farm was part of a massive sheep station, basically it was around for, I don't know, 100 years, close to something, well, not quite 100, but it's been for a lot of years. And then I'm not sure exactly why, but at the end of the Second World War they subdivided the station. The original station still does exist, it's just a lot smaller. Basically, yeah, end of the Second World War they subdivided it up and it became part of this program, like soldier settlement program, where returning soldiers from the war could, I don't know if they were government assisted to buy farms or if they were given the farms, but basically in the area a lot of soldiers settled all these subdivided farms and obviously started farming them, and this is one of the farms. This is how it was subdivided up. So I can't remember the name of the family that originally settled here, the returning soldier, but yeah, so they've all these soldier settlement homes in the local area. They all look the exact same pretty much. Yeah, so he came here, farmed it for a while, and then I think dad and his parents bought it off the soldier, I think, I might be wrong, but yeah, so that's basically a little bit of history about the farm anyway. Yeah, it used to be a massive sheep station, and then yeah, got subdivided up for returning soldiers. Yeah, so pretty much all the adjacent farms, the same thing happened. I think ours is one of the bigger ones. They've all been subdivided up and have weather-built houses all built on them for the soldiers that came back and wanted to farm. And yeah, so a bit more history for you. Rightio, so we've got back from out the back of the farm. Yeah, we measured up the fence and got the hell out of there. So yeah, I think that 50 or so ewes are making their way out to their paddock at the moment, and Dad will sort them out later. But yeah, that's it for now. Don't know when we'll do that fencing. That'll be some point in the future, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, we'll wrap the video up. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch us in the next one. All right.